Hello everyone! How's everybody doing, huh? How about a real vlog this time? A real vlog, you know what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about this big tree outside the window there, and there's a bunch of some vines growing up over here on the trees. Looks like maybe kudzu or something. Is kudzu still around? You remember when kudzu was a big thing? What was that, like back in the... Ooh, that was like 30 years ago. 40 years, back in the 80s. There was a big thing about kudzu, how somebody brought it over here because if you plant kudzu, you don't even have to plant it, all you do is throw it on the ground and it grows, and it's this big vine, and it takes over everything. It takes over the trees, it just keeps growing, and it won't stop. And the farmers brought it over here because I think to make the ground like more firm. The kudzu, the roots would go, it just firmed up the ground. But what happened was it was wildly out of control after a while. They didn't know what to do about it, and they kept trying to cut it down, but it would grow back really fast. Whatever happened to kudzu? Anybody out there know what happened to kudzu? Did they finally get a hold of control of it? I used to see it on I-95 when I used to drive my car up from Orlando up to North Carolina, and we'd see kudzu on all the trees and everywhere. It was all over the freaking place. It was crazy. Last time I went up to North Carolina, like a year or so ago, I didn't see it, because I don't think I saw it. Yeah. What happened to kudzu? Speaking of things that there's got to be a better way to segue into what you're not going to see anymore. Okay, all I'm trying to say is, let's get serious. Ross Perot has passed away. Now, I'm not going to get into politics. I don't like talking about politics because I don't like arguing about politics. And everybody else that disagrees with me, they're wrong. And I just don't like having to argue with them about it, and tell them how wrong they are. How was that? That what? What? Yeah, I just had a big Diet 7-Up, and it does that. Excuse me. It just keeps coming back. Tastes good the second time around. Where are we now? We're trying to get serious here. Ross Perot has passed away. He's only one of three, I guess, major big politicians that I've seen in person. When he was around, what was it, early 90s, and he ran against George Bush Sr. and Bill Clinton, and he was a third-party candidate, and everybody figured, well, you got to be Democrat, you got to be Republican, you can't be third-party, but he was, and you can't get elected if you're third-party, you're just not going to get the votes. Well, guess what? He got up to 19% in the polls, and he would have gone higher, but something happened, something happened. It was some sort of a gaffe that he made, or had something to do with he was suspicious that people were spying on him or spying on his daughter or something like that. Anyway, the paranoia that he displayed at this point suddenly made him less attractive to people. But at first he was great. He actually bought time because he was this multi-millionaire. He would buy time on the networks at that time, the mainstream networks at that time, and have these 30-minute programs, 30-minute program where he would talk about how he was going to fix things. At that time, the deficit was the big problem. Ross Perot was a famous, accomplished, a great businessman, and he had this plan. He was looking at politics. He was looking at everything totally from a business point of view, sort of like what Trump does now, but Perot was a pioneer, and he was different. He was different from the other candidates. And his 30-minute infomercials, or whatever they were, his 30-minute discussions, he would sit at this desk and just talk, and he was very convincing. He came across really likable, and you really thought, well, this guy could really get something done. He could fix the deficit, he could fix the country, he could fix everything. So a lot of people liked him. I remember that Clint Eastwood said that he voted for Ross Perot that year. But the thing was, the other choices were George Bush Sr. and Bill Clinton, who were Republican and Democrat, which means George Bush kind of conservative, Bill Clinton kind of liberal, but nothing compared to the liberals of today. He was rather middle of the ground compared to the divisions we have today. But Perot was more conservative, but he was quite charismatic. And if not for that gaffe, he had a really good shot at getting elected. But what actually happened was, after that, his approval ratings dropped. He did get, what did he get, like, I forgot, I don't know, 9% of the vote or something in the actual election, but I mean, he made his presence known, but he didn't get elected. What he did was, he took away enough votes from George Bush that it cost Bush the election, and that's how Bill Clinton got elected. So George Bush never got reelected. He just had that one term. And yeah, so I saw what happened like a few months later. My wife at the time, Cindy, she said that George Bush was going to, not George Bush, but Ross Perot was going to speak at Rollins College. It was Winter Park. It's on the other side of Orlando. And did I want to go? And I said, yeah, heck yeah. I don't remember if we got free tickets or what, but we went. And he was great. He was really cool. He came out. He had a big shovel, and he said he was going to shovel out the crap in Washington. You know what I'm saying? And he gave I don't know, like an hour speech or something. And he was like totally a fun guy to watch. And he had this high-pitched voice. He used to talk like this. He had a high-pitched voice. I used to do a great imitation of him. Anyway, didn't get elected, and he died today, and we're going to miss the guy. He lived, it was like 89 years old or something, so. But he had that one shot at the presidency. Didn't happen, but certainly left his mark on politics and a lot of our memories. We have fond memories of him. Other than that, I saw Jeb Bush. He was at my church. He was standing in the front row. What I noticed about Jeb, now Jeb never got elected. No chance of him ever getting elected. He was elected governor of Florida. So he was governor of Florida. He just happened to go to the same church that I was going to, and I just remember he was there in the front row. What I noticed about him was, I didn't realize how tall he was. Jeb was really tall. He like towered over all the people around him. You know, it looked like King Kong in Munchkin Land. Yeah, I guess somebody mentioned somewhere, or the preacher probably mentioned him. By the way, George Bush is in the audience. Jeb Bush is in the audience. And there he was, Jeb. Nothing exciting about that particular experience. It was more exciting when Bill Clinton came to speak at my daughter's school. When both of my daughters were in the same elementary school in Orlando, this being back in the early 90s. And Bill Clinton came, actually it would have been, I think, 1998. But both of my daughters were at this school, or were they? At least my youngest daughter, Kathy, was. She was at that school. And all of a sudden, a week before it was supposed to happen, we got an invitation. Only 200 families were invited to attend this surprise appearance of Bill Clinton, who was coming to speak at my daughter's school. And we said, yeah, you know, I've never seen a president live, and he was president at the time, and so it was exciting, so we agreed to do that. So the day came, and the entire block, we actually lived just a block away from the school. We were just a block away from that school, and yeah, but the whole block was cordoned off. Our home was outside the cordoned off area, and to get in, you had to pass through a metal detector, and I remember they asked me for my social security number. And for a second I couldn't think of it. Then finally I blurted out, and the lady said, if you hadn't remembered that, you wouldn't be getting in. And she was laughing. I said, oh, okay, ha ha ha. We got in, but you could see, as we went up, you could see on top of the school, there were snipers up there, guys with rifles. They were all up there watching as people were pouring in, you know. And so we got in, and all the local news channels were broadcasting this live. You know, I recorded on VHS tape at the time. I got it off. I recorded the live program of one of these channels, these local channels, and it's been lost. After all these years, I don't have that anymore. But I used to watch that video, because if I had it, I'd transfer it to DVD, and I would save it. But it's been lost, unfortunately, after my divorce and everything. Some stuff was lost, and but it was great, because in the live video they kept turning to the audience, so you could see me in the audience, and I would just like smile and wave whenever the camera went to me. And then we heard the music, bum, 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 and then Bill Clinton came walking in. This was in the school cafeteria, which wasn't really huge, and you had 200 families crammed in there, plus the White House press corps, which would look like a bunch of mountain men when they came in, boom, all this equipment, and they set up over to the side, and they were filming. And then Bill Clinton delivered his speech, and at the time I said, I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm just going to say this real quick. Not going to argue. Don't try to argue with politics. But I was voting Republican at that time. But he was such a good speaker that for about a week, I really liked him. I was a Bill Clinton supporter for 1 week, and that was it. It was all over after that, the honeymoon. But anyway, I did. I talked about politics, didn't I? Okay. Never again, by golly. Ouch, that hurt. Where were we? Yeah, he was speaking, and he gave a great speech. And I had a little camera with a flash. It was like a disposable camera that I bought just for this. And every time he would turn to me, I was actually about 20 feet away from him, sitting in a chair. Every time he would turn to me, I don't even have the pictures anymore. I've lost everything, but I had pictures of him and everything. He was a great speaker. And then after the speech was over, he went outside, and all these first, second, third graders, fourth graders were all lined up, and my daughter Kathy reached out and shook his hand, and there was a picture of that was on the front page of the Orlando Sentinel, the local newspaper. And the amazing thing about this, especially about the great speech and how natural he really was a great speaker, was that was the week of his impeachment. That particular week he was impeached for shenanigans with Monica Lewinsky in the White House. Inevitably, he was found not guilty, but he was actually impeached, which means accused. Doesn't mean removed from office. You have to be impeached, accused first, and proven guilty before you can be removed from the office. And so he didn't. He beat that, and there you go. Now, I have to admire the guy who was a great speaker. Personal feelings aside, or whatever, really was a great speaker. Other than that, the only other thing I can remember was riding through Wilson, North Carolina, when Jimmy Carter was president. No, he wasn't president. He was running for president. And we rode by a big tobacco warehouse, and there was a sign that Jimmy Carter would be speaking inside. And I didn't see him, though. I just saw the sign and the warehouse. And he got elected. He was another one-term president. Just didn't work out because Reagan ran against him, and Reagan just cleaned up, man, cleaned house. So, okay, well, that's just the interesting stuff. And all of this, I was just thinking, I thought I'd, loud talk and a gab about this. Ross Perot, although he's dead, has inspired me to make a video. God bless him. We'll miss him, and God rest his soul. And all right, if you guys want to argue politics, you can do it, but I'm not going to get involved, except with a BB, because I'm already involved. And you can see this right here. Yep. Yeah, we're totally involved. Okay. So, all right. Now you guys have a nice day. And keep smiling, by golly. It just seems like the thing to do. See you next time. Bye-bye.